Hi, Mike. Good to see you. So we've seen over the last few weeks a clear acceleration on sustainability commitments, in particular on net zero, which we've been following here. Do you think we've reached that tipping point where sustainability has become non-optional?
Well, I mean, Greg, it's a great question. Let me answer it directly. Yes, I've spent 20 years in the trenches of corporate responsibility in big business, and it was largely about making existing business models less bad. Now, I think there are 7 reasons why we're fundamentally putting sustainability at the heart of business success in the next decade. The first is visibility, whether it's the Arctic melting, wildfires raging in California, southern US states flooding in hurricanes, Black Lives Matters on the streets, or Extinction Rebellion on the streets. I think citizens are seeing that the existing way of running things just is not sustainable. Which takes me on to the second point: where are citizens' heads at? We want cleaner air, better oceans, better prospects for our children, as well as a thriving economy and experiences that we can all enjoy. But citizens are very clearly telling big business now, we want to change. The third thing I'm seeing is this real shift of mainstream of the conversation. Now we're seeing it in the FT, The Economist, in Time magazine, we're seeing it at Davos with the World Economic Forum. Wherever the world's business leaders congregate to look at things, they're being told about sustainability. The fourth thing is very clearly investors. I mean, they've been nowhere in the space for the last couple of decades. The last 6 to 12 months have been really welcome announcements, whether collectively, the Climate Action 100 Plus group, with $47 trillion of assets under management, calling on 161 of the world's biggest greenhouse gas polluters to act, to shift toward net zero. Investors are beginning to recognize that if they continue with the status quo, they will lose billions. This is not about a bad day, a reputational bad day on the front page of the press. It is much more about profound systemic changes to the world's economy. So investors right at the heart of this discussion, putting pressure on corporates. The next thing I'm seeing is the policy system. And again, whole economies committing towards net zero, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in South Korea, whether it's in Japan or China now, and the EU, all mandating that we need to be net zero by 2050 at the latest 2060. Again, the entire economy is driven towards that endpoint rather than a few good voluntary efforts on the periphery of the economy. Everybody's driven by that policy shift. But my final point, and this I think is the most important of all, we're seeing that corporate responsibility, the old paradigm of less bad, is being replaced by sustainable business models. If you stand still as a car company, knocking out diesel and petrol, you will die because we're heading towards electrification. If you're a food company hooked on single-use throwaway plastics, on a meat-based diet, you will die because we're heading somewhere else. If you're a fast fashion brand that's not involved with resale platforms, you will die. It's going to stranded assets in every sector as we shift to more sustainable products and services, which is where I started the conversation, because that's what citizens want. Good for them, good for the planet, good for society. Businesses that square that circle win. Those that don't lose, and those that invest in them lose with them. So 7 key reasons why sustainability is at the heart of the next decade.
For the executives listening to you at the moment, what's your advice to them as they embark on this journey so that they make it a meaningful and impactful journey?
Understand why you need to be sustainable. Understand what you need to do to commit to be sustainable. Understand how you integrate sustainability into your business. The why, the what, the how. The why we've just spoken about, 7 big reasons in the outside world that are driving businesses to be sustainable. You have to take that insight and turn it to foresight, and then ultimately to business strategy to help you win in a new marketplace. The second bit that lots of businesses half do well is the what. They'll sign up to a human rights target, a net zero target, science-based target. Brilliant. Love it. You need those bold commitments. But they very rarely put in place the infrastructure, the architecture underneath to actually deliver change. And the third and final question is the one that every business forgets. They think it's enough to put a press release out there saying, today we commit to be net zero. That's it, job done. No, it's not. It's the beginning, not the end. You have to activate millions of customers, of colleagues, of business partners, of suppliers, of investors, regulators, and also the rest of your sector. Because as we'll see in a moment, no business can change and become sustainable alone these days. So that how question, how do you integrate it into everything you do, is where this is won or lost. But let me give you one example to bring that to life, why you can't do it on your own. Marks & Spencer sold 800 different fruit product lines containing about 5,000 tons of palm oil. Now, palm oil is implicated with deforestation in Southeast Asia. That's a bad thing. M&S was desperate to drive that out of its supply chain. So that was important. But M&S trying to trace back 7 steps from its own business into supply chains of using a few tons of palm oil each, a liquid commodity produced on the other side of the world, was impossible. It's only when it stood next to Tesco's and Sainsbury's and Walmart and Waitrose, big competitors, good business as well, to drive the change with Nestle and Unilever, with Coke and Pepsi, that you got the changes that we began to need to tackle deforestation in those supply chains. So partnership is key. The ability to both compete as well as collaborate within your market is incredibly important. Another example is what's happening on the policy world. Now what we're seeing with things like the Global Resources Initiative, the GRI in the UK, it's brought together policymakers, businesses and civil society to co-create the policy system we need in the future to eradicate deforestation in UK-bound supply chains around the world. Of course, there's then your employees. Engage them, talk to them, listen to their ideas about why you use energy in a profligate way across your business. They're your eyes and ears on how to improve, make them proud to work for your business. And of course, suppliers, again, it's very parent-child in many supply chains, you shall do. And that gets you so far with audits and standards and tests, of course. But ultimately, you've got to co-create the future with your suppliers. If you want them to invest in more resilient supply chains to deal with more extreme weather events, you can't keep giving them 1 month or 3 month or 6 month contracts and hope for them to invest into a business model change that will only pay back in 3, 5, 10 years' time. You have to work in partnership with them as well. So this how question, to me, dominates whether you become sustainable or not. Get the why right, of course you need a strategy. Get the what right, of course you need the targets. But ultimately, as a business leader, make the how work.